Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you that are new, I'm Saul and I wear a lot of different hats in the real estate industry in the Phoenix metro area. I'm primarily a real estate agent, but I also wholesale properties, I fix and flip properties, and I help people establish their rental portfolios here in the Phoenix market. Today, I have a little bit of a different style of video because I want to go over one of my projects that absolutely imploded, self-destructed. Everything that you can imagine going wrong with a property went wrong, and the reason I want to walk you guys through exactly what happened is because I'm hoping someone gets a kick out of it and possibly learns from my mistakes. If you guys want to connect with me, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll put my Instagram somewhere up on the screen, and it will also be down below in the description. Okay, so first things first, how the hell did I find this property, right? And where was this home? Well, the way I actually found it was every single day on my way to the gym, I would pass by this home and I would see this big bright red for sale by owner sign right in the front yard. They actually have two of them in the front yard, and they would have their little phone number underneath. And for over 2 years, every single day I saw this sign. And after a while, it honestly piqued my interest because I found it very odd that the home was sitting on the market for this long. And the reason that I found it odd was because in Phoenix, we're seeing homes sell within 2 to 3 days, right? We're seeing people come in from California, drop boatloads of cash, close for over asking within 2 weeks, no questions asked, no inspection, no appraisal, no nothing. Even in Fountain Hills, which is where this property was located, they're very, very similar market conditions to that of Phoenix. We're seeing homes sit a little bit longer, upwards of 5 to 6 days in the price range that this property was. And knowing that knowledge, I was honestly really curious because I needed to figure out why the hell it's sitting on the market for so long and why a wholesaler or another real estate agent or frankly just another buyer that's driving around hasn't already made an offer and tried to close on this deal. So the curiosity got the best of me, and one day I just pulled over and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give this guy a call and see what is going on. But it wasn't quite that easy. I ended up calling him 4 separate times within the span of a single week. Each time I would leave a voicemail inquiring about his property, trying to get more information, how much he wanted, what he was looking for, if I could come and see the home. And he didn't respond a single time to a single one of those voicemails, but I'm fairly patient. So I was like, okay, I'll give him 1 week to respond. And if I don't get a response, then I'll either knock on his door, I'll write him a formal letter, or I'll just frankly do some more research and see if I can find any other contact information, possibly an email address, possibly a different phone number. And after about a week, I actually ended up getting a phone call back, to my amazement. So as you can imagine, right, I at this point don't have his phone number saved in my phone because I don't even know if it's legit because he's not returning any of my phone calls. So I get a call and it just reads out the number. I didn't even recognize it because I didn't have it saved like I mentioned before. And I hop on the phone and I go, hello, this is Saul. And then on the other line, I hear, what do you want? And I'm like, oh my God, who is this? How the hell did they get my phone number, right? And then I go, I'm sorry, do I know you? How did you get my number? Who is this? This is Saul. And then he goes, this is the owner of the address of the property. I don't want to share it because I don't want anyone showing up at his house or giving him problems. And you know, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize your voice because I've never spoken to you and I don't have your number saved yet. How are you doing? And we end up talking for a little bit. And as the conversation goes on, I am honestly a little bit astonished because he is incredibly aggressive on the phone, right? And at this point, I'm just having my normal bubbly personality, trying to build some rapport, trying to essentially make friends with this guy because I see his house all the time. And he's probably, you know, I imagine that he'd be pretty stressed out because he obviously wants to sell his house and he can't. But I was kind of wrong and I was kind of right, and I'm going to tell you why. So as we're conversing about the property and I'm trying to gain more details, I am very upfront and clear with this on everyone that I speak with and try and purchase their properties. I tell them right up front that I'm a licensed agent in the state of Arizona, but I also make my intentions very clear. I tell every single one of them, if you're interested in listing your property, I'll list it, but I already know the answer to that's no, which is why I want to buy your home. I'm not going to make any commissions off of this. I want to take this property for myself. And I tell him that, right? And he gets furious. He goes absolutely livid on me. He goes, how dare you call me? I don't want to talk to a single realtor because I want to sell my house by myself and I won't pay any commissions. And I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware of that. That's why I'm offering to buy your property. I don't want to list your house. I know you don't want to, otherwise you would have already listed it at this point. And, I calm him down a little bit. I end up building a little bit of rapport, and we end up talking a little bit more. And I pull some information out of him. I'm like, because, I'm trying to structure this house in my mind. I want to know how many square feet is it? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What is the condition of the property overall, right? Because I'm thinking this will be ideal for a fix and flip, or possibly even setting it up as a rental property or an Airbnb if I can get it at the right price. And I end up learning, he ends up telling me that the condition of the property, according to him, is absolutely stellar, right? He says that this house needs no work whatsoever. The only problem with it is a couple of chip tiles in the kitchen. And to me, being an investor and fixing and flipping homes, that's not a problem, right? Because if it's not anything major, I'm already planning to gut out this house and do a full overhaul of everything inside of it. So, I kind of look past it. I tell him, oh, those 3 chip tiles, I don't care. It's not a big deal to me because I'm going to replace it anyways. Are there any structural defects? Do we have any problem with the truss up in the roof? Do you have mold anywhere? Is there any problem with the plumbing? Is there any other things that I should know about the house? And he tells me, no, it's all perfect. And so then my mind starts going, if everything is so perfect, why is this house sitting on the market for so long? So I straight up ask him, how much money do you want to sell this property? I will close whenever you want. I will pay cash. I will waive the appraisal. I'll still do an inspection, but I will close on your property regardless of the circumstances. I just need you to be truthful with me, explain what the situation is, and how much you're really looking to get. And he goes, oh, I don't know how much I want for my house. Frankly, I was taken a little aback by that comment because in my mind, being in sales, I was like, so you want to sell your house, but you don't know how much you want for your house? You have to have a number in your mind. And he tells me the classic response, well, make me an offer. And I'm like, sir, if you wanted to sell your house with an agent, would you list it on the market and say no price or $0, make me an offer? No, you wouldn't, because this isn't an auction. If you want to sell your house, let me know how much you want for it. Give me a list price, right? Give me a ballpark estimate. And then he comes like a bat out of hell with an insanely large range. He goes anywhere between $600,000 to $700,000. Obviously, the first thing I do when I hear a range that big, I'm a little bit confused. I'm like, you're willing to take anything from $600,000 to $700,000? Are you sure about that? And I ended up making him an offer right on the phone. I was like, I'll give you $620,000. It's a little bit above your lowest, on your range. Would you consider that offer with cash, no appraisal, and an inspection? And we'll close whenever you want, whenever your heart desires. I'll even pay for your move. And he goes, no, I would never take $620,000 in a million years. And I'm like, oh, okay, but you gave me a range between $600,000 to $700,000. I mean, if you were willing to take 600, why wouldn't you take 620? And he goes, oh, I wasn't really looking to sell at that price. Obviously, I kind of expected that answer, right? But you can't blame me for lowballing someone when they give me such a large range. I tried to make a reasonable offer. We ended up talking for a little bit more. And I was like, what is the real number that you have in your mind? Because if you give me a $100,000 range, I'm obviously going to offer on the lower end of that, because why would I offer to pay more money if you're willing to take less? Tell me what you're really looking for. And he goes, I'm looking for closer to the 700s. And obviously, being an agent, I just straight up told him, because I pride myself on being honest. I tell him, you know that your property is worth probably a lot more than that, right? I'll go ahead and send you the comps if you're willing to give me your email. I'm not going to ask to list your property, but I want you to understand that you have a lot more money you can get from this transaction, even if you don't work with me, right? You could just go and put it up on Zillow for all I care, and you could probably pull in between $825,000 to $850,000 just by fixing it up, taking some professional photos and putting it on there, because I'm trying to provide value and I'm trying to be honest with him, because before I made this phone call, I obviously ran the comps for this entire neighborhood in Fountain Hills. I knew that on the low end, the absolute worst case scenario, if this house was absolutely trashed inside, it would go in the 800s. And if it was in great condition, we could easily push the 860s to 870s. And I told him, I was like, I can make you an offer, but you're going to be leaving around $120,000 to $150,000 on the table. And I just want you to be aware of that. He did not like me telling him that. That actually made him significantly more angry than he already was, which I really didn't understand why he was so angry, because he wants to sell his house and I'm trying to buy it. But regardless, he starts cussing me out on the phone. He starts going, "You don't know what you're talking about. There's no way you can tell the value of a house." And I'm like, okay, well, we'll ignore the comps and basically the statistical analysis of over 30 homes within literally a 10-block radius of your house. We'll throw all of that out the door. Why don't you tell me, why do you think your house is worth that, right? Because I want to be honest. I actually want to help him because I feel bad. And he goes, "I had an appraisal done." And I go, "Oh, okay. What did the appraisal say?" He goes, "Oh, it said it was worth $620. And in my mind, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. The low end of the offer I made was $620 because I was hoping, to be able to flip this property and make a lot of money. That would be a wholesale deal at that price." And I go, "Well, if that's what it appraised for, then why wouldn't you take my offer, right? Why would you not list it?" And he goes, "Oh, well, the appraisal was back in 2017. And in my mind, I'm like, so you had an appraisal done in 2017. Why didn't you try and sell it back then? Why did you list it in 2019? Or not list it. Why did you put the sign up in your yard in 2019? And his response was, "Oh, I don't trust real estate agents. I don't want to work with them. And I don't trust the appraisal either." And I go, "You don't trust the appraisal. You don't trust what I'm telling you. You don't even really have a number in mind. How about we do this?" And I tell him, I was very frank, right? I tell him, "How about we do this? I'll give you another month, right? You leave the signs up in your front yard. You keep trying to sell it. And if you don't have anyone that bites or anyone that beats out my offer, how about I reconnect with you? I'll give you a call 30 days from now, and we'll see if we can hash out an agreement and make something work between the two of us, because I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, and I honestly want to show you that I'm being genuine with what I'm saying." And he goes, "Okay," and he hangs up. I don't even get to say bye to him. So then 30 days passes, and if you know me, you know that my follow-up is on point. It is absolutely God tier, right? And in 30 days, I call him back and I talked to him a little bit. I was like, "Have you had any action on your house? What's going on since we last met?" And he goes, "Do I know you?" I'm like, "No, we never met in person. We just talked a little bit on the phone and I told you I'd follow up." And he goes, "Oh, okay, that's great." And I go, "How much do you want for it?" He goes, "Between 600 to 700. And in my mind, I'm like, wonderful. We're back in the same place that we were 30 days ago. But I obviously don't tell him that, right? Because I don't want to offend someone that I'm trying to work with. And I tell him this: "How about in 2 days on Friday, how about we meet at noon and you give me a quick tour of your property so I can get a little bit of a better understanding as to what the true value of the home is, and I can give you an offer in writing." He agrees. I'm obviously very excited. I'm like, okay, well, we had a rough start, but it looks like we're going to be able to put something together. And fast forward 2 more days, Friday comes along. I'm naturally a very punctual person when it comes to my work, so I show up Friday at 11:58. I pull up into his driveway. I'm excited. I have a smile on my face. I have my little book with all of the comps to show him it, just to be genuine, as well as my contract and earnest money check. Everything ready to go, right? Walk up to his door. Keep in mind, it's 98 degrees outside because this is May and it's starting to get really hot. Walk up to the front door. Knock, knock, knock. No answer. Wait 30 seconds. Knock, knock, knock. No answer. Then I ring the doorbell. No answer. And then I start listening a little closer, right? And I realize that he is inside arguing with someone, screaming. And obviously I'm like, oh no. When I go in there, once he's done arguing with whoever he's arguing with, because at the time I thought it was his wife, I knew that he was going to be in a very bad mood, and the chance of me even being able to work with him would have gone out the door, because when people are angry, they're not the easiest to negotiate with or deal with, because they don't want to be very accepting or understanding or frankly even have a conversation with someone. So I'm just waiting. I listen a little bit more. And I realize he is on the phone screaming at his credit card company because they charged him for something. I don't know what the situation was, right? But he was screaming at them. He's like, "I'm not going to pay. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that." And, I was just standing on the other side of the door waiting for him to come answer. Like, I hope to God he can solve this so that when we talk, he's in a little bit of a better mood. and he eventually comes to the door. So he swings open the door and he walks out. I see an elderly man standing in front of me, which I kind of honestly expected because I could tell from his voice, and we were in Fountain Hills, and that's a pretty common thing to see because a lot of people in Fountain Hills are essentially retired. He swings the door, he comes out, and he goes, "What do you want?" And I'm standing there like, wow, this is very confrontational. I was not expecting this. I'm here to try and buy this guy's house and be his friend, essentially. So I explain to him who I am. He invites me inside and he goes, "What are you here to sell me?" And I goes, "I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to buy your house. The sign in the front yard, do you remember the sign?" And obviously I didn't say it like that. I was very respectful. And he goes, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Do you remember that we spoke on Wednesday?" And he goes, Yeah, I remember that we spoke on Wednesday. What are you here to sell me?" And I was like, "Nothing. I'm here to make you an offer to purchase your house." And he goes, "Okay, great. What's your offer?" And I'm saying there like, "Well, remember, I'm coming here because I would like to get a tour of the property, right? If I'm going to make you an offer any higher than my original offer, I would like to know a little bit more about the property. I would like to see its condition. And if it's okay with you, I would like to take some photos and videos to document this as well as record our conversation because I want to be transparent and I don't want there to be any issues between us because we're neighbors." He goes, Oh, that's fine. Let me show you the house." As we walk through the home, I do what I do best. I start documenting everything. I start capturing video, photos. I start documenting the condition of the house because obviously, right, as an investment, I need to be able to figure out how much money I would need to put into this property, what work it needs, and if I were to dispose of it as a wholesale deal, I need to have something that I can present to other people, right? Because no one is going to just make an offer on a $700,000 house or $600,000 house or even a $500,000 house if they have nothing about the condition of the property. So I'm documenting it, we're walking through, and I get a couple red flags. We're walking past the kitchen, which is kind of the first room that we walk through, and I see the entire kitchen counter. We're talking about 12 to 14 feet of kitchen counter going all the way around the kitchen is littered with paper and mail going all the way around in at least a 3 to 4 inch stack going everywhere. And I'm like, wow, what did I just walk into? Is this going to be a hoarder situation? Am I going to need to get like the hazmat guys to come and clean out this house if I were to acquire it? Just keeping all this stuff in the back of my head, because I don't want to offend the owner. That's not what I'm there to do. And we start walking more. And then I see the 3 cracked tiles that he mentioned on the phone. And keep in mind, in my mind, I'm thinking 3 cracked tiles. That's no biggie. We'll either fill it in or we'll just replace it all together when we do the flooring for the house. Then I see it. It's 4 separate tiles, and each one of them is actually been completely removed from the floor and turned into powder. And I asked him, I was like, "I'm sorry, I think there was a misunderstanding. I thought you said that they were just 3 chipped tiles." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I ended up removing them." And then I go, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "But I can't find a replacement." And I'm like, you know what? That's not a big problem, right? I'm buying the property as is. I can get over that. I'm going to replace it. But it is something that we're going to need to negotiate. And he goes, "Oh yeah, that's fine, ha ha ha." And he starts to warm up to me. We start talking a little bit about politics, about the stock market, about the condition of the real estate industry, who I am, what I stand for. I give him my business card, and he's giving me a little bit more of a tour of this house. And it was, frankly, a very old home, like a lot are in Fountain Hills, but that wasn't a turnoff for me because I knew as long as I get it at the right price, I can profit from it and I can do good to everyone. He can go home with a lot of money in his pocket because he bought the property cash originally. He owed no money on it. And I knew that by getting it at the right price, I can create a beautiful home for whoever the next buyer or tenant or owner of it is. And I'm walking through, I see some weird stickers on the wall. No big deal, right? We're going to paint the walls. We're going to sand everything down. Walk through the master bedroom. He ends up sharing with me that his wife died. I give him my condolences. I feel bad for him, right? Because that's a tough situation to be in, especially when you're old. You're living alone in a 3,000 plus square foot house. We walk the entire upstairs. We walk the entire middle floor. And then we get to the downstairs or the basement area, which is when things start to get interesting and I start to get some red flags going off in my mind. So as we step downstairs, I see trash furniture, garbage stacked 3 to 4 feet high across the entire basement of this property. And in Fountain Hills, basements aren't really basements because they're built into the hill. So you still have windows down there and everything, right? And you get wonderful views. But I'm seeing this and I'm like, damn, this is going to take a lot more work than I originally anticipated, because I'm going to have to get a whole moving crew out here. We're going to have some serious demo work to do and clean up. And then, I thought that was going to be the worst of it, right? I can live with that. But then I start to realize there's more things wrong, because we walk in and all of the bedrooms downstairs, not a single one of them has carpet. And I'm like, I thought you said this house was in perfect condition. It didn't need any work. He goes, oh, I removed the flooring. And I'm like, why did you do that? Was there a leak? Was there something wrong with it? He goes, no, I didn't like the way it looked. I was like, oh, okay. Just, you didn't think of mentioning that on the phone? He goes, no, I didn't think it was important. And I go, okay, I just got to keep that in mind, work it into my cost. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. We end up walking around the backyard. I see this beautiful view of Four Peaks. And I'm like, wow, this is, this has a lot of potential. I could seriously do some good for everyone involved with this deal. I start to see some ceiling fans, right, that are broken, not a big cost. I take photos of the AC. I document everything down. I get serial numbers. And I do a check on them. They're actually fairly new, right? So that shouldn't be any problems with that. I do a quick look over of the roof. No problems there. I don't see any low spots. Obviously, an inspector would have to come and take a closer look at that, but there were no red flags to me outside of the fact that there was no carpet downstairs in a single one of the bedrooms, and that he had disassembled every single goddamn bathroom in the house. And when I say disassembled, I mean the toilets weren't even screwed into the ground. They were like across the house, and there was just a hole in the ground. And he was explaining to me he's remodeling, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. I can look past this, right? Let's go and talk about price and negotiate a little bit. Let's go to the kitchen. So I set up my stuff and we start talking. We're sitting in his kitchen. Keep in mind, it's essentially an oversized recycle bin because he has papers everywhere, even on the floors. We're sitting there, I'm talking, I pull out my contracts, and I want to know a little bit more about him. Why does he want to sell his house, right? Because from what he's told me, he loves this house. He loves Fountain Hills. He loves the gym that he goes to in Fountain Hills, and he wouldn't switch it for the world. And he goes, well, since my wife died, I've been trying to sell my house, and I feel really bad for him. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. And honestly, I hope that we could, knock out a deal. So we start talking numbers. I was like, how much money are you really looking to get? And he goes back to square one. He goes between $600,000 to $700,000. And I go, okay, do you remember the offer that I originally made you? He goes, no, it escapes me, because it was a while ago, right? I don't blame the guy. And I go, well, honestly, I don't know if I want to tell you, because you didn't really like it last time, and you got very, very aggressive on the phone with me. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing. I don't talk the best on the phone. But go ahead and tell me. I promise I won't get angry. I just won't take the offer. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm glad we understand each other. I offered you originally $620, but you didn't want to take that deal, and I understand, right? But after seeing the house and knowing the repairs I would have to make to it, just the flooring cost alone would cost me thousands of dollars. I would have to redo the entire kitchen, adjust the floor plan. I would have to repaint the entire property, both inside and out. I would have to put in flooring downstairs. I would have to redo every single bathroom, attach all the toilets to the ground, and I would have to redo your pool, resurface it, right? Redo the plaster problems because it's chipping everywhere. But, the bones of the actual house are good. I don't see any structural problems. I'm not seeing any cracks, any water damage. I'm not seeing the roof. So I was very upfront with him. I was like, I can give you another $30,000 on top of my original offer and raise it to $650,000. And then he kind of sits there with a blank look on his face. And I'm kind of sitting there like, what does he expect me to say here, right? Is he just thinking? Does he not know what to say? Is he angry? All these thoughts are running through my head. And then he goes, no chance. And I'm like, okay. Normally in these situations, people that don't want to take the offer, they normally have a counteroffer in mind, or they have a number that they're more interested in. And he goes, the lowest I will go is $700,000 on this house. And then I go, I thought you said that you were looking between 600 to 700 grand and 700 on the high end. And then he goes, well, my prices have changed since we last spoke, sir. And I'm like, wow. Obviously, the $700,000 number still made sense to me because I still had a profit margin in there. But I'm an investor, right? I want to negotiate the best deal for me, for my partners, for those around me, and for him, frankly. So I try to kind of change the subject to get a little bit more information out of him. How fast do you need to move? What type of money are you looking to keep in your pocket? And how much do you actually need for your next home in Florida? We end up hashing these things out, and I mentioned the idea of seller finance because if I can get this home seller finance, or technically it would be more of a sub-2 situation, I'm willing to do that as well, and then that would give him a residual source of income for the next coming months. And he doesn't hate the idea, but he really wants the cash offer. So we negotiate a little more, and then he raises his number to 750 in the middle of the conversation. And I was very frank with him. I'm like, I'm not here to play games, sir. If you don't have a number that you're actually looking for, you need to be very upfront with me because my time is valuable to both me and to you. And he goes, yeah, I'm not willing to go at that price point anymore. And I go, okay, it seems like I can't change your mind. I wish you the best. How about we schedule another follow-up consultation? And he goes, no, I'm not interested in doing business anymore. I don't really know if I am willing to sell my house for anything under 750 grand. And I'm like, okay. In my mind, I'm thinking this has got to be a joke. I don't know what this game he's playing is. And I leave, no hard feelings. I leave him my card. And he goes, I do not want to sell my house for that much. And I go, yeah, I understand that. I'm just going to go on my way. You're very clear that you don't want to negotiate with me. And that's fine. That's just a business and I can't do anything to change your mind. So all is well for about a month and a half. And then I'm in California and it's getting close to July and I get a call. And I recognize the number because at this point I had his number saved because I thought it was going to be a deal. And he calls me and he goes, hi, is this Saul? And I'm like, yeah, this is Saul. How may I help you? And he goes, you wanted to buy my house, right? And I go, yes, I wanted to buy your house, but we weren't able to come to an agreement. Has anything changed? And he goes, yeah, I'd like to revisit your offer. When can you come down? And I was like, well, I'll be able to make it there in about 3 days when I'm back in Arizona. Do you have a time that works for you? And we end up settling on 12 o'clock noon, just like the last time. And, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm not really sure what's going on, but I'm willing to see this out and see what happens. I end up showing up at his house, 11:58, just like the last time, right before noon. And to my amazement, he comes straight to the door and he was very, very welcoming. This being my second visit, I had shared some of the info of this deal with a couple of my partners. And on top of me being interested in the property, I had actually a couple of friends that were also interested in this property and were currently looking to buy investment properties cash in Fountain Hills. So I knew that even if I wasn't able to get it at 700, maybe I could get it at, maybe a little bit of a higher price and assign it to one of my friends that's an investor that is willing to pay that higher price point because the numbers work for them. So I come in with an open mind. We end up sitting down at the table just like last time. Nothing's changed. He's very, very warm and welcoming to me. This time he actually shakes my hand and we're sitting negotiating and he goes, you know what, Saul? I like you. I admire young people like you and you're going to go very far. Within 10 to 13 years, you're probably going to be retired because you're really good at what you do. And out of curiosity, I go, how old do you think I am? And he goes, oh, probably 28 or 29. And I go, no, and you frankly wouldn't believe me if I told you how young I actually am. And he goes, yeah, you're right, I probably wouldn't. Let's go ahead and jump straight in. And we're sitting there, we're talking. I upped the price this time. I'm willing to make the $700,000 price point work because now I'm considering the concept of assigning it out and wholesaling it to one of my friends that is willing to make a higher number work. And, I offered to put $2,000 down and he did not like that. He gets very, very angry. He goes, how dare you disrespect me like that? And I'm like, wow, this was a very big change of pace from 10 seconds ago when we were buddy-buddy. And I go, I'm sorry, what number were you thinking of? And he goes, I want at least $400,000 down. And in my mind, I'm like, $400,000 down? That's like on the high end, on a wholesale deal or an off-market deal, I would do maybe 10% down. $400,000 down is absolutely insane. No one puts a down payment that big, especially when they're paying with cash. That's ludicrous. I don't tell him that, right? We keep negotiating, and I actually get him all the way down to a $15,000 deposit, which I could make work, right? And he decides last minute, he goes, you know what? I don't want to sell at $700,000 anymore. And I go, fair enough. You go ahead and have a good day. And then the next day, Saturday morning, I get a call back from him. This time, he invites me back to his property, and I show up at the door just like last time at noon, and I try and hash out a deal with him. I bring another contract, same exact thing as before, just with different dates because this is another day later. And in order to ensure the validity of it, I have to update everything. And we start negotiating again, but this time he's very standoffish. He's very aggressive. He makes all the other times that he was angry look like nothing was really happening, because this time I legitimately thought he was going to absolutely explode and try and attack me. And he starts going, where's your proof of funds? And in my mind, I'm like, I'm sorry? Proof of funds? You didn't ask me for proof of funds. I can get you proof of funds if you need proof of funds. He starts yelling. He goes, how dare you think that I'm stupid? I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't think you're stupid. He goes, well, then why would I accept an offer without proof of funds? I was like, well, we didn't get to that point because you didn't even entertain my offer. There was no agreement made, right? So I'll go ahead and get you proof of funds. How about I come back tomorrow? And he goes, okay, bring me proof of funds. I want to see you bring me proof of funds. And I go, okay. And then, I was like, I'll come back tomorrow. We'll come back at 12 o'clock again on Sunday. We'll get this hashed out and hopefully we can go from there. But out of curiosity, I wanted a little bit more details. What's been going on with him? Why the change of heart? Why is he suddenly entertaining my deal now? And he goes, well, I've had a lot of other offers. And I go, yeah, I'm sure. I can imagine. I'm a realtor and it's a very hot market. Out of curiosity, what were the offers? And he goes, I had one for $750 and one for $765. And I go, oh, why wouldn't you take the offer? There's no obligation to me. You can take an offer if you get a really good offer. I'm not here to try and cheat anyone out of money, right? I want you to be happy. You're my neighbor. The last thing I want to do is have someone be very angry with me. And he goes, oh, well, I wanted to keep my word to you. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, word to me? There's no agreement between us. You can take whatever offer you want. And you should take whatever offer comes to you that's the best offer. That's what anyone would do. And he goes, don't you dare tell me what to do. This is my house. And I go, I understand that, sir. I apologize. Just you tell me how you want to proceed and we'll proceed. And he goes, this is my house. You speak when you are spoken to. And then I go, wow, this has taken a turn for the worst, right? And I'm thinking in my mind, if this goes south, how do I get out of here? This guy's nuts. And he goes, this is not how this works. I do not like you. At this point, I am completely dumbfounded. My jaw is basically on the floor and I have no idea what is going on inside of this guy's head, because just a couple of days before, I stood in the exact same place as I was right then, and he had told me how much he likes me and how far I'm going to go in the real estate industry because of how good my attitude is, how good my negotiating skills are, and how much of a respectful person I am. My mind immediately goes into damage control mode, and I am trying to figure out, is there any chance that I can salvage this deal? Because at this point, I have made multiple visits to this property. I've spoken with him on the phone repeatedly, made multiple offers, even showed up to his front door with a cashier's check to lock this deal up. And I remember that he was a very big stickler on the proof of funds, so I just straight up tell him, I was like, I don't know what I did to upset you, sir, and I apologize. How about I come back tomorrow with proof of funds and we'll go from there? He goes, okay. Doesn't even walk me out the door. I walk myself to the door, I close it, and I leave. I show up the next day trying to do exactly what I said I did, and I brought my proof of funds letter. I sit down at the table with him, but before we even do that, I knock on the door, he answers it, and he goes, who are you? And I go, my name is Saul, do you not recall? And in my mind, I'm thinking, this has been like the 6th or 7th interaction we've had. And he invites me in after a while, and he goes, well, why are you here? What do you want to sell me? And I go, I don't want to sell you anything. You asked for the proof of funds letter yesterday. I'm bringing you the proof of funds letter. And he goes, the what? I go, proof of funds letter. He goes, the what? And he goes, I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing. So I'm like, oh, he just can't hear me. That's why he's confused. And then we get down to the table and we start negotiating. I give him my proof of funds letter. As he's sitting there, he looks at the letter, he looks at me. He looks at the letter, he looks at me. And then I see his like face twitch and he throws this paper at me, right? Kind of like a ninja star. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell is going on? This is a proof of funds letter. Why is this guy being so erratic when I'm trying to make an offer to purchase this goddamn house? And he goes, this isn't real. Obviously, I reply, sir, it is real. It's a legitimate proof of funds letter from the bank. And he goes, how do I know it's real? And I go, well, sir, that's normally the job of a title company to kind of check in on and legitimize the funds. But since we're kind of doing this at your kitchen table and we haven't even gone to the title company yet, let me just be honest with you. I see your computer back there and I know you have a phone because we've spoken a few times. Why don't you go ahead and just call the phone number at the bottom, right? Or look up this bank and just give him a call. Because the vice president of the bank signed this letter, said it's legitimate, and what you're implying is fraud, and I take that very seriously. He ends up telling me that I'm full of bullshit, everything I've said is a lie, I'm not who I say I am, my name isn't Saul, and I tell him, I was like, well, my full name is Salar, is that what you're referring to? And he goes, no, that's not what I'm referring to. I know that you're not Salar. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm Salar. I have my identification on you. You can even look me up. Type my name into the internet. I'll pop up everywhere. Because there's not a lot of Salars out there in the world. It's a very unique Persian name. And he goes, you know what? I do not like you. And he says it again. I do not like your attitude, your personality, and you're too aggressive with your business. And I go, I'm sorry, did I do something that was aggressive? I was just under the impression that we were just working out a deal. And honestly, I've compromised with you on everything. I've brought you everything you've asked for. I will close whenever you want. No appraisal, cash offer, right? There's no contingencies. There's nothing special going on. Is there something I'm missing? And he just goes berserk once again. He's losing it. Guy is completely lost his marbles. I decide, you know what? I'm just gonna leave. No strings attached. You know, you don't owe me anything. Just please do whatever you need to do and don't include me in it because I have more dignity in this. I have better things to do. And honestly, I have other properties that I could be purchasing that I will make a lot more money on than this one. And the sellers have a lot more respect for me, for my business, and for who I am as a person. I let myself out, take my contract with me, my cashier's check, my proof of funds, and I am on my way, never looking back. This guy had the nerve to call me back 30 minutes later as I walk in the door to my house. He had the nerve to call me back after he had cussed me out repeatedly, yelled at me, insulted me, and he goes, Saul, I'm sorry. And I'm like, what? What the hell just happened? 30 minutes and this guy has had a complete change of pace, change of heart. Everything has changed and now he's apologizing to me? He starts explaining that he's having troubles with his family and it was nothing to do with me, which, you know, I'm a little bit confused on because he told me that he had no kids and that his wife died. But I look past it because at this point I'm starting to think this guy might legitimately be insane. Or at the very least, he is losing touch with reality and he's on his way to be insane. And, you know, I console him. I'm like, you know what, man? It's no big deal. A lot of people go through stuff, but there's no hard feelings, right? And he goes, would you be willing to make me that offer again? And I'm like, you know what, sir? At this point, it's been, almost 2.5 months now? You've rejected me, you've yelled at me, you've cussed at me. I've brought you everything you've wanted, and we keep playing this game of cat and mouse where you keep bringing me in and then essentially shunning me and sending me away after I bring you everything you wanted and more. So I am going to take a stand right now and say that I am not interested. He begs me to come back to his house. He says, please come tonight or tomorrow. And I'm like, this guy, it could be a couple reasons why he's trying to get me in there, but in my mind, I'm thinking this guy wants to physically assault me. He wants to probably beat me or something because there's no way he has a change of heart this quickly. And if he did in fact have a change of heart that quickly, that's a red flag and I'm not willing to do this deal because he is not there mentally and I can't do a transaction like that as a realtor because that'd be against my code of ethics. And frankly, not only that, but it would be against any form of contract law because he's not in the right state of mind. I end up completely throwing away all of the knowledge of this deal, right? Mentally, I have, the recording still on my phone. I have the photographs of this property and everything to keep me legitimately safe just in case he tries to pull games, because I was starting to get that impression after he started calling me and he started yelling at me. But I end up stowing it away in my mind. I'm like, you know what? It just wasn't meant to be, right? This is going to be one of those deals that's just not going to happen. And I came to peace with that, right? And then 24 days passes from when he kicked me out and tried to bring me back in, right? It's the last time we spoke on the phone, he was very respectful and he apologized for what he had said before. I thought at least, I was on good terms with him. There was no water under the bridge and I held no anger toward him. So out of curiosity, I answered. And he goes, Saul? Is this Saul? And I go, this is Saul. How are you doing, my friend? And that took him from 0 to 100 really quick. He goes, you son of a bitch. I apologize for cursing, by the way, but he goes, you son of a bitch. How dare you? I am not your friend. And in my mind, I'm like, wow, god damn. What is happening, bro? This guy has completely lost it. If I needed any confirmation, it's this, and I am so glad that the deal didn't end up working out, because I would have been screwed if I had signed anything with him. Now, obviously, after he cursed at me again, I apologize, sir, but I'm not willing to just be on the phone for you to curse at me. If you have something that you need, I'd be happy to advise you or help you out if I can. And he goes, well, you're buying my house, right? And I go, no, sir. And he goes, we're closing tomorrow. And I go, no, sir, we're not closing tomorrow. Why would we be closing tomorrow? He goes, you agreed to purchase my house. I have the contract right in front of me with the close of escrow date, with all of the terms in it, and I have your cashier's check and your proof of funds letter. And I go, sir, with all due respect, right? There's no way that you have any of that because, one, you turned away everything I said. You disagreed with everything, and I have that on recording of you doing so. Second, you gave me everything back because I asked for it back. Third, I don't sign anything in person, right? Everything is done electronically, so there is a record of it. So whatever you have, it's not signed by me. It might be signed by you, but I don't even think you have anything from me because that would be a physical impossibility. And he goes, no, I'm looking at it right now and it says we're closing tomorrow. And then I just straight up tell him, I'm like, there's no way you have anything because I literally have the contract in my hand and I am looking at it. You don't have anything. There's no signatures on it. You never even agreed to it. We didn't even get to finish putting the price on the paper because you kicked me out of your house and you gave me everything back, right? So there is no deal. What are you talking about? Is there a chance that you might have me confused with someone else? Because I know you mentioned there was a second party that wanted to buy your house for $750,000 and I told you to take it. But with me, there is no deal. There wasn't even a verbal agreement. Why would you think such a thing? Obviously, I'm recording all of this as it happens because I want to protect myself, right? All business calls are recorded on my end. And he goes, oh yeah? Well, I'll file a complaint. And I go, sir, I can't stop you from filing a complaint. That's your right. And I'm a realtor, right? So we will settle it. But file a complaint for what? Did I do something? I mean, we don't have a disagreement. There's no problem. There's been no crime committed. You just didn't like my offer and you didn't accept it. That's not reason for a complaint. And he goes, don't tell me what to do. I will ruin you. And I go, okay, well, I guess file your complaint then. I'm not sure if there's anything I can do because you have me confused with someone else. You don't even have a contract from me. I'm holding it in my hand. And he goes, yeah, well, good luck getting your cashier's check back. And I go, sir, I'm telling you, you legitimately have me confused with someone else because my cashier's check was in my folder at the time. I was looking at it in front of me while I was on the phone. And I'm like, how much is the cashier's check for? And he goes, $50,000. And I go, wow, that's not my cashier's check because we agreed on 15 and I still have it with me, man. You have me confused with someone else. And I hope you can figure out who it was because I feel bad, honestly. Like someone else is doing a deal with you and you think it's me because it's not me. For those of you that have been watching from the beginning, that's kind of the where it all went wrong moment because we went from trying to work out a deal to essentially having me cursed out multiple times with recordings of it, having the deal deflected, and then a guy threatening to file a complaint. And then I go, okay, well, what are you going to file a complaint for, right? Because, you're dragging me through all of this. He goes, you know what? You didn't tell me you're a realtor. And I go, sir, I have audio recording of me telling you that I am a licensed real estate agent, realtor, all of it over 4 times on an audio recording from the first time we met. From the first time. And he goes, yeah, we'll prove it. And I go, well, I can prove it. I literally have an audio recording. Do you want me to play it out loud? And then he hangs up on me. Then I don't like being hung up on, so I call him back. And this time now I'm like, okay, we need to solve this problem now because I'm not willing to have my name, my reputation dragged through the mud because someone is being delusional and someone is trying to play games with my career. So I go, sir, you need to tell me what is going on. And he goes, I want you to buy my house now. And I go, that's not going to happen. I'm not willing to do a deal with you. And I made that very clear 24 days ago. And I don't want to continue this game. So I need you to understand that you are looking at a contract from someone else. And if you take any actions to try and mess with me or, ruin my reputation or cause problems in my life, I will have to take legal action because this is not a game. This is my life. This is my livelihood. I don't have time to play games like you because I'm not retired, right? And then he hangs up again. I call him back and then he ends up asking me and he goes, yeah, well, you might have recordings, but how can you prove that you wrote it on the paper? And I go, because I still have the papers. And he goes, well, how can you prove it's the real paper? I'm going to take you to court and then they are going to find out that you didn't disclose it in writing. And I go, sir, again, as I mentioned, if you want to mess with me, I will follow suit with legal action. But as far as I'm concerned, and as far as you're concerned, it would be in your best interest not to do that because any judge is going to listen to the audio recording, the multiple audio recordings and videos of the conversations we had, and they will side with me. Not only that, but if you go the legal route, I will bring the physical contract where it states 4 separate times what is exactly the terms of the original contract that you rejected, including the 4 separate times where it says that I am a licensed real estate professional, and I will be happy to do so. And then that's just where it ended. We went on our own separate ways, and he goes, you know what? Never mind. I'm not interested anymore. And I go, well, dodged a bullet. And then he calls me back the next day, and he starts talking about, he goes, hey, is this Saul? Did you ever make me an offer on my house? And I go, I did, sir, and you declined it. And he goes, well, what offer could you make me? And I go, I'm not interested in buying your house anymore. I ended up closing on a deal in Mesa, which is the Saddleback property that if you watch my channel, it was the previous video that I uploaded. And he's been calling me back every single day since then. This man is still leaving me voicemails, asking me if I want to purchase his property, whether I'm interested in his house, whether I'd like to list his house. And at this point, don't answer anything. I don't even interact with him because I have too much to deal with. And I'm not willing to play games with someone that's trying to essentially screw me over because they have nothing better to do with their time, right? And I'm considering blocking his number, and I've just come to terms with the fact that a deal that was supposed to make me 50 grand as a wholesale deal is dead, and a deal that was supposed to make me 100 to 150 grand in profit as a flip is dead. There is no avenue, and I have come to peace with that idea. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for tuning in. And as a bonus, if you have any questions, you have anything you want to learn, or you want me to go over with you, send me a DM on Instagram up on the screen or down below via the link, and I will answer whatever you want to know and even jump on a call with you. God bless.